Listen to the Chimes by Charles Dickens, Level B1, Oxford Reading University, Part 2.
Little Lillian liked the mild and gentle Meg immediately. They spent the evening laughing and exchanging good wishes and hopes for the year to come. When everyone went to bed, Toby sat by the fireplace and fell into deep thought. Everything I have heard today is true, he decided. Poor men are unnatural and cruel. We are born bad and have no business on earth. We are bad and miserable. We do not deserve to live. Suddenly, he heard the bells. Their voices were louder than usual. Toby Veck! Toby Veck! Come to us! Come to us! He jumped to his feet. I must be dreaming, he thought to himself, but the bells went on and on, calling out to him. Eventually, he found himself on the street, heading toward the church. As he entered, he saw a long staircase leading up to the bells. He stepped carefully in the dark, climbing higher and higher to the very roof. At last, he reached the bells. Hello, he called out. Hello, came the echo. Confused, out of breath, and frightened, Toby looked around him and lost his senses. Third quarter. Soon, the complete darkness turned into a bright light. In front of him, Toby saw big dark figures with thick black beards. They were the goblins of the bells. Their eyes were fixed on Toby. Have you said anything bad about us? They asked. No, never, replied Toby. Have you ever committed crimes against us? The goblins continued. No, to my knowledge, no, said Toby, shaking with fear. Listen to me, one of the goblins said. You have put unfair and cruel words in the mouth of time. You thought that a man could be born bad and unworthy of life. You have doubted that we, the Chimes, encourage the weak and the poor. This is what you have done wrong. Now we will punish you. You will see the future of your daughter and other people that are dear to you. This will teach you a lesson. The floor under Toby's feet disappeared. He saw his dead body on the ground. You have been dead for 9 years, the goblin went on. One night, as you were climbing up the staircase in the dark, you fell off the church tower. Look at your daughter now. Suddenly, Toby was in the middle of a familiar room. Meg sat by the fireplace. It was hard to recognize in this woman the beautiful, cheerful girl she used to be. Her eyes seemed to have lost their light many years ago. Another girl walked up to her. Toby looked closely and recognized Lillian. There was no sign of the careless little girl Toby used to know. By the sight of her, it was obvious that she had suffered a lot. She put her hands around Meg's neck. Meg, please, look at me, she cried. Smile at me. You haven't smiled at me for so long. Smile at me so that I can remember the times in which we weren't yet to suffer, in which I was innocent and didn't have to be a woman of the street. The picture suddenly changed. Toby found himself in the house of Sir Joseph Bowley. friend and father of the poor. The rooms were well lit and beautifully decorated. Guests in fashionable clothes laughed and talked to each other cheerfully. "Friends," announced the master of the house, "we are gathered here today to celebrate the birthday of my beautiful wife." The door opened and a man entered the room. He was covered in mud from head to toe and wore torn, untidy clothes. It was Will Fern. "Listen to me," he cried. "Throw him out! He's a criminal!" shouted the guests. "That's right," Will cried. "I have just got out of prison, and before I am chained again, I must ask you. I am a poor, miserable man, but I am not bad. I have never wished ill on anyone, but your laws have led me into prison, which I cannot escape. For years, I have known no home but prison, but I ask not for myself. No one will give me my freedom back. No one will give my niece her good name back. I ask for the other poor people whose lives will be destroyed by your violent, unfair laws." The scene changed again. Toby was back in his house in the company of Meg. At the door stood a man, drunk and sick, with his hair and beard in a mess. But Toby understood that it was Richard. "Good evening, Margaret," he said quietly. "I come to tell you that Lillian paid me another visit. She gave me money again. Please, take it." He pulled out a bag full of ringing coins. "Hide it, Richard," said Meg. "Hide it. When she comes again, tell her that I admire her and love her dearly. She will always be in my thoughts and my prayers. If I die tomorrow, I will remember her with my last breath, but I cannot take this money." Another scene appeared in front of Toby. It was the same room, but Richard wasn't there, and Lillian was back. "Meg, I have come to look at you one last time," she cried, falling at Meg's feet. "I am sick and dying. Please tell me you have forgiven me." Meg held the girl tight in her arms. "I will pray for you, my dear," she said, and Lillian died. Fourth quarter. Now, Toby found himself in Mrs. Chickenstalker's store. A young doctor was examining a man. "He is as good as dead," said the doctor. "What a sad fate!" cried Mrs. Chickenstalker. "Poor Richard! I remember him as a handsome, manly, responsible youth, and Meg as the most beautiful and sweet girl. I knew her father for a good man with the heart of a child. Poor thing! He fell from the church tower while walking in his sleep and killed himself." "What happened to them?" wondered the doctor. Mrs. Chickenstalker went on, almost crying. "Ever since their wedding was called off, Richard seemed to have lost his mind. He started drinking heavily. He grew worse by the day. He lost his job, his reason, his looks, and his health. Meg married him, trying to get him out of his hopeless state, but she failed. After she gave birth to their daughter, she worked around the clock to feed the family. I can hardly imagine how they have survived." The scene had changed again. Meg was sitting at Richard's bedside, crying her heart out. Her husband was dead. She was holding a baby close to her chest. "Thank God," cried Toby. "She loves the child." Indeed, she loved her child. But one night, when Will Fern appeared in her house, her love changed. "Margaret, I've come to say goodbye to you," he said. "I've committed a horrible crime. There's going to be a big fire tomorrow. Now I must be gone. Let me see your child. Oh, Margaret, she reminds me of Lillian. Goodbye, little girl." The picture changed again. Toby saw Meg walking down a street. The night was dark and cold. "Where is she heading?" he asked the goblins, but they were silent. Suddenly, she stopped. She looked at her daughter, touched her face gently, and kissed her for the last time. Then she ran toward the river. "The river!" shouted Toby. "Please, Lord, be kind to my child and save her. She is not guilty of the crime she is about to commit. She is driven by the deepest love." Suddenly, he felt that he could reach her. She was in his arms. He held her tight. "I understand it now," he cried. "I see that we must trust and hope, and neither doubt ourselves nor doubt the good in one another. Oh, spirits, I have learned your lesson. I am grateful." And then the spell was broken. Toby found himself in his house by the fireplace. Meg sat behind him, working on her wedding dress with a needle. It was the last day of the year. Toby's happiness was enormous. He jumped to his feet and cried, holding Meg tightly in his arms. "No!" he heard Richard's voice behind him. "The first kiss in the new year belongs to me." He walked up to Meg and kissed her on the lips. "Tomorrow, no, today, since the bells have just rung 12, today we will be husband and wife." Then little Lillian came in the room, and Uncle Will Fern and Mrs. Chickenstalker with all the neighbors. "Happy New Year! Congratulations on your wedding!" they shouted as one and sang many cheerful songs. Was all that had happened to Toby just a dream? Or perhaps the author of this story is a dreamer? In any case, try to remember the reality from which all dreams come, and may the new year be a happy one for you.
You can find part 1 in the description. Send this video to a friend who likes warm Christmas stories. And now, let's listen to another English audiobook.